Shalom and welcome to Challenging Torah. This is the portion of Acharei after the death of Aaron's sons, a portion that really continues from 2 weeks ago. And the Lord spoke to Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron, who died when they drew too close to the presence of the Lord. That's how the portion begins. On the surface, the message is clear. Be very careful of sacred boundaries. Don't come into the synagogue or the, at that point, ritual space drinking, God later says to Aaron. Be very careful in these liminal spaces of holiness. Otherwise, you and your people will be tameh, impure, and I cannot appear before them. At the same time, God has said, through those who draw near to me, I will show myself to be holy. Wow. So, how near is too near? What about our enthusiasm? How involved should we be? At the same time, where do we keep our respectful distance? Most of our lives are about swinging between, I got too close, I want to step back. This relationship is too intense, I need to step back a little bit. We also swing between these poles of purity and impurity, which, as we've discussed, just means I got into a place that needs to be cleansed. Not dirty, just a spiritual impurity. And holiness itself brings spiritual impurity. How can this be? Well, we are endlessly given the example in life and in death. This week, in these last 10 days, I've had the experience of both life and death right before my eyes. As we discussed last week, our beloved Tamar Freeman died almost in my arms, and I watched her face grow waxen and cold. I watched the breath cease. I held her body and knew that I was tameh, that I needed to go and purify myself after having done this most pure and holy act of helping a person in her transition. 5 days later, April 5th, 2014, my second grandchild was born to my son and daughter-in-law. Thank you for your mazel tov. And it's a messy business. Anybody who's ever witnessed a birth knows it comes with lots of blood and gore and messy towels and screaming and babies, and it's never really easy till it all adjusts. It is the holiest moment you can imagine. You can't deny the awesome power of birth. And at the same time, the mother needs to be cleansed, the baby needs to be cleansed, and even daddy and grandma who are standing there need to take some space. Because we've been in an awesome place. And how do we return to the place that says, now I need to worry about, did I put enough money in my meter for the car? How do we do that? And God says to Aaron, through Moses, here's the ritual that you need to do. First, you need to bring a bull, which is huge, of purification for yourself and your family. Make that sacrifice. I want it exactly this way. Pay attention to the details. Shiva, bris, all of these things are pay exactly attention to the details. Root yourself in ritual, because that's how we deal with containing the awesome power of holiness inside of our lives that are so fragmented. And so Aaron is told, put out the bull first, and then I want you to make expiation, in other words, kaper, like Yom Kippur, which is when this portion is read, actually. I want you to make a kapara, an expiation for all the people. Let them bring 2 goats. Put your hands on one goat. That goat will go free. Put your hands on the other goat. That goat is the sacrifice. Well, you would think the, quote, bad goat is the sacrifice, but it's the other way around. The good goat gets sacrificed to God according to the ritual. The other goat is led out into the wilderness, brought to a cliff. We never really know if the goat dies, do we? Later on in Talmudic times, they would do the ritual and they would take the goat and they would push it off of a cliff. In later Second Temple times, actually. But my feeling, all those things that we confessed and put on the head of the goat, they circle back. That's why every Yom Kippur we say the same Ashamnu, Bagadnu over again. This is our shadow side. And we need endlessly to deal with the shadow side is where our impurity lies. And it is time, it is attention, it is water, it is bringing our full selves to be present to a ritual that makes the cleansing. So it's a little strange because this year, because of a leap year, we're reading the story of Yom Kippur on the week that precedes Pesach. This is Shabbat HaGadol, the week before Pesach. And yet, it's all about birth and death and renewal. And so we bless the renewal in our lives. We call Pesach Chag HaAviv, the time of spring and celebration. Looking at the face of my new grandchild, there couldn't be any more joy. And so, for all of us, may this be a time when our rituals around our Pesach tables, followed pretty exactly, bring us to a state of not only holiness and purity, but great joy. Chag Sameach.